when I'm in primary school, I do have this respect for Christians, but then again, because of certain negative examples that come along the way, I tend to shrug it off lah. But primary school was the time when my dad's cancer was found out, and it was very difficult for the family. But my family is very small, just my mom and my dad and myself and my grandmother. I lost my dad when I was 12. So that was, I think my world really crumbles, and I was very angry. Perhaps at that time, I was not even aware of this God who I called out for help. I was basically angry at this divine being up there. But that would begin my secondary school phase, where I became rather skeptical about religions, and I will also mention that perhaps a bit nasty to Christians in my class, because I remember on my dad's deathbed, while my mother and myself are praying in the previous religion, there was a doctor who came in. While both of us in tears, my dad was in coma. He sort of made a joke in that sense, and the nurse and him laugh in front of both of us when we are grieving. And I remember that he was wearing a cross in that sense, and so that really angers me greatly. And I guess that became an avenue for me to become angry at Christians as a whole. So I would say that my adolescent years was filled with a lot of anger and a lot of misgivings, let's just put it this way. At the point of time where I need love the most, I felt that laughter was thrown in my face. Maybe the doctor was not laughing at me, I do not know. But at that time, it seems like those conversations that he has was directed towards me, my mom, So that was that part I struggled. Before I entered the national service, after I finished college, there was a classmate of mine, schoolmate of mine, who handed me a Bible, a Good News Bible. Now, she was a very wonderful Christian. She's never not a harsh word for anyone. And she just gave me a Bible before I did the national service, and I was like thinking, why would she give me this? But that became something quite beautiful. I read the Bible with the intention of trying to find out something wrong about it. But as I read on, there were stories about it that somehow or other speak out to me, and I continued reading. I remember when I entered national service during the first 3 months in BMT, I read the Bible when my platoon mates go smoking break. I will be outfield, I'll be taking out my Bible and read, while there's light and things like that. So it was more of a desire to read more and more, to find out more about this God who I was so angry at for somehow I cannot fathom any reason why. And that was that crux of time where the Bible to me became a storybook. I read from cover to cover, from chapter to chapter. I was on a huge ship, we call it LST, landing ship tank. It was sunset. I was off watch, I was reading a Bible. I was reading the Psalms. Psalms are Old Testament readings whereby people use it to either to praise God or to lament for God's help. And while I was reading, I looked up. I was on the quarterdeck, on the flight deck where the helicopter lands in that sense, and I saw the most beautiful sunset ever. I can remember that it was orangey red. Somehow or other, we were the only ship out there in the ocean. And the sky and the sea become this orangey red color, and for that brief moment, you can't tell the difference between which one is the sky, which one is the sea. Even the horizon blur. The only way you can tell the sky is just point outwards and the sea downwards. And gradually, a lot of people came out from the ship because they began to notice there's a sunset. And everybody at the beginning, we were talking, all busy talking, trying to feel this moment, taking cameras. At that time, there was no camera phone, I think, if I'm not wrong. And suddenly, just a very brief silence came upon all of us. We were all together on the quarterdeck, just looking at the sunset and just soaking it in. That brief moment of time was a life changer for me, because I looked down in my Bible in that sense. I looked at the Psalms, and the Psalms was praising God. God, you're the mighty of all creation. And then I think I broke down. I cried. And I really felt that, wow, this God is the creator of all. This is a God who creates such great beauty. And if He can create such great beauty, how much more beautiful He is. And that was my onset when that book ceased to become a storybook, but became a love letter from God to me. After baptism, I must tell you, Eu-Jin, I was all ready to settle down, to look for a God-fearing Catholic girl, to start a family. Because starting a family has always been something that I long for since young. And I remember that it was one of the confirmation camp that I was helping out. We had the washing of feet. It was in the semi-darkness, and I was supposed to wash the feet of a young person. And I remember when I was kneeling down, my heart was filled with so much love. I was crying for this young man, young brother of ours, because I know that he is also struggling with his faith. And I wanted so much to make him aware that Jesus is real and pretty much alive. I remember that washing of feet. In my heart, I was saying, Lord, this must be how you're feeling for your disciples that night when you wash their feet. You know that they will run away from you, they will deny you, they will betray you. But yet you knelt down for them. And your love for them is so overwhelming. And that's why all of them eventually went out to share the word of God in such a powerful way. I think it's during that night when I was kneeling down, I was washing her feet. My tears was mixing with the cold waters, my hot tears mixing with the cold waters that poured on the feet of the young man. For that moment, I felt like I was washing the feet of my Lord. And that was it. That was it. I began the journey. I went to the seminary vocation retreat. I went to those. That at the time there was a prayer ministry who actually prayed for vocation called the Sierra Club. And went for their recollection and so on and so forth, and it was very powerful for me. In John it was written, how can I claim that I love a God who I cannot see when I fail to love a brother who I can see? For me, I think Christianity is about love. I mean, doctrines and dogmas, all those things comes in later, I guess. But for me, it's that tangible experience of love that makes me take the first step. And there was a point in time when I was in Holy Cross that I saw the beauty of the priesthood. Monsignor Francis Lau, Father Valerian Cheong, at that time he was a deacon, Father Ignatius Yeo, Father JJ. 4 of them. The way they live out their priesthood together as brothers is amazing. The love they have for each other, the kind of love they have for the parishioners. And that was one of the determining factors to help me to discern for the diocesan priesthood. I saw a community among men who really laid down their lives for Christ. But it was not easy because I have a lot of doubts, inadequacy, unworthiness. I remember I went to the adoration room one of these days just before I make the jump, leap of faith. I said, Lord, are you ridiculous? Are you serious? There are much more better men than me out there. You throw a stone, you can reach a better man than me, much more eloquent. I think God's words came to me in a very subtle manner. Not so much I hear voices, but this sentence began to form in my mind. Gabriel, you are right. There are much better men than you out there, but not many of them can say yes to me in the way that you can. I could only in my heart that He is the Lord, because His words brought a huge amount of peace in my heart. And there I began my journey to the Catholic priesthood. A lot of people always like to ask me that question. Why is my mother's reaction when I first told her that I wanted to join the seminary? It was not easy for her, because my mom would have hoped that I get married. And we belong to that kind of culture. Well, we'll watch a lot of Kung Fu movies. I always have to use this analogy, where, you know, in the movies itself, when someone in the family go through a traumatic experience, they went to the monastery, they become a monk, and the families came to the monastery to ask for that monk, and then the movie was described in a way, the monk would say, the so-and-so son is no longer here. What stands in his place is the monk so-and-so, in a sense lah. And so I guess there was this sense of fear that I think my mom had. of losing me. But Catholic priesthood is not about losing your son. Catholic priesthood is about the whole family embracing that vocation together. It is not so much a detachment from family ties, not so much of detachment of what makes us who we are, but rather to allow God to increase while we ourselves decrease. I remember my mother crying. I remember myself crying. But I remember most of all for me was that I brought my mom to see Father Franz the Rider. Well, to this day, I never really asked my mom what he said. I remember my mother came out with tears in her eyes, but she was happy. And she gave her blessings for me to enter the seminary. The diocesan priesthood does not function alone. In my realization of this, it's no longer a competition between which religious order or religious brother or sister. We are all fellow workers in the vineyard. And if I have learned anything in the seminary formation, when the other postulants or novices from other religious orders come together, we all go through same difficulty in the formation houses. But we are all linked through that love of Christ. So it's really true what Bishop used to tell us when he was the rector of the seminary. It's never about competition. It's about complementing each other. To serve alongside, to love alongside. Yeah. So that's all I want to say. I just wanted to allow whichever beat that you cut, to allow the people to know that it's not really one person's effort. It's a whole village of people. And that's what makes our Catholic Church unique.